Chapter 59. Coraline's killer tucked into a chef's special inside a small, dirty spoon truck stop. 4 plates piled high with carbs, proteins, and artery-clogging, delicious, rewarding grease. The Reggie assassin, Leroy, started like he had always did. First, one of the biscuits, then the 2 runny eggs, mopped up with a slice of buttered white toast. Taking a break to gulp some black coffee, he acted shocked when the waitress switched on the old TV and saw newscasters immortalizing his infamy. Alleged murders of thousands of bots and untold numbers of Reggies and Dirts. All in the name of, and this is a direct quote, folks, maintaining the kingdom of the true man. Before those snake-covered sinners and ayahuasca-drinking freaks polluted our DNA and stole our loved ones. This is not the end. We will... He sucked his teeth as she flipped the TV off and shuffled back to work. The snippet of news just made him prouder that he was the alpha male, blessed enough to send that bot bitch straight to hell. Leroy wasn't a coward, but he had fled the alley after firing the missile just as ordered. By the time he was out of the blast zone, splitting lanes and running red lights amongst all the chaos, the mushroom cloud had formed behind him, obscured by the toxic red dust coating his side mirrors. Those freaks won't dare set foot on American soil again. Homegrown aliens, not on my watch, he thought, wishing he was outside, basking in the glory of his good works. But he had superiors to report to and other missions to execute soon. But all that could wait till after breakfast, of course. Even though he was a card-carrying member of the Mankind Militia, they had still offered to pay him. He refused the money, of course. He was cause loyal, even taking out a small home loan to purchase the rocket components off the dark web. Wrote it off as a business expense, he thought, snorting to himself. "More coffee, honey?" the grizzled waitress asked, with her raspy smoker's voice. Please and thank you kindly, ma'am." That's what's wrong with this country these days. No fucking manners no more. We ought to go back to smacking kids around. It worked on me, didn't it? She glanced at the percolator and cursed. "Fine, then. Well, sit tight. I'll be right back. I just gotta refill the basket." He watched her sashay through the swinging doors and contemplated the rumors he had heard. Nah, forget about it. You're already in the hole for that pay shooter. Besides, just save the $20. Go home and let Nancy blow you. Wasn't that the point of getting hitched in the first place? Like casserole. Boring, but keeps you alive. Just as he resigned himself to another typical night of missionary position and endless inane chatter afterward, the annoying little bell on the diner's door chimed. He didn't look, but tensed anyhow, conditioned from a lifetime of committing hateful, wicked deeds. A man sat down on his right, just as what sounded like 2 other customers flopped down into a booth near the door. Switching his fork casually to his left hand, he pretended to brush crumbs off his pant leg, but then left his right hand and carefully slid it under his moto jacket, stopping when his fingers wrapped around wood and metal. "Anything good in this shithole?" the man asked, leaning in. Leroy looked him over in a flash. He wore a gray, baggy jacket, tactical pants, and kick-your-teeth-in boots. Now his finger was on the trigger. "I don't recommend the biscuits. Too dry," Leroy lied. But then saw a familiar tattoo on the web of the man's hand. It was a wood-patterned cross with a red bullseye around the center. He chuckled, smoothing back his sweaty hair, and stuck his hand out for a shake. "Well, fuck me running. I didn't know the Brotherhood had any members in this area." The assassin whispered, not wanting to insult the man over his choice of neighborhood. "I guess that's why they call it a secret society, right?" the man said, reaching out. Smiling as they clasped hands, Leroy returned a firm greeting. He went to pull back and relax into his seat, but met unyielding resistance. "What the hell, man? Back off," he demanded, now using his left hand to try and pry himself loose from the stranger's vice grip. Before he could divide his attention, the other two were on him. A middle-aged woman, dressed like the mystery man, latched onto his left arm, holding it fast. "You don't know who you're messing with, you hear me? You got 1 second to let me go, you whore, or by the lords." A third attacker muzzled him with a gloved hand as Leroy shot mucus and fear-laden breath from his nose. Slowly, she pulled a glass dagger from its titanium sheath with a scraping hiss. It was made from the same indestructible glass that Coraline had invented. Leaning down, she put her red-painted lips right next to his sweaty ear. "Let me guess, wrath? Or was it divine justice?" The scalpel-sharp blade met little resistance. With a quick body-weight plunge, it punctured Leroy's jacket, slid between his ribs, through his right lung, and impaled his wretched black heart. Blood sprayed from his nose and mouth, dripping between her leather-clad fingers as he struggled feebly. But in a moment he was very still and very dead. The cook just stood in the kitchen, watching through the window, bathed in heat lamp red. A burger slid off his spatula and hit the ground with a gooey, cheesy smack. Releasing the corpse's hand, the man rose and hurried away like a well-oiled machine, looking for the security hard drives. The first woman released Leroy and started wiping down the counter, removing any wayward fingerprints they might have left. The assassin's assassin carefully leaned her target against the counter, face down in his sullied meal, the dagger sticking out of his back. "All right already. You don't really have to holler about it, Leroy. I got the Arabica right." The waitress screamed, sending the ground beans flying as she recoiled against the counter. Probably for the best. The coffee there did suck. The two accomplices left smoothly, digital evidence in hand. The female assassin gave the cook and waitress a lengthy, hopefully cautionary stare. All she said before walking out was, "Do not touch this body." Outside in the midday sun, she watched to ensure her fellow flats got away without a hitch. She smiled, relieved that this puny, insignificant cockroach had been crushed. And yes, the Mankind militia could always be so stubborn or idiotic as to miss the subtext of the gruesome diner scene. But she knew the laser-etched note on the dagger would convince them. It merely read, "We know who you are. We know where you live. We will exterminate your bloodlines. Stop, disband, and fade away." "It's a shame," she thought to herself, swinging a leg over the dead man's sport bike and bypassing the ignition. "I hate to torch a sweet ride." And then she sped off on the twice-stolen motorcycle, the sun illuminating the 6 flat spots on her shaved scalp. The 6 flats, like miniature mesas on a long-forgotten landscape.